That's a scary one, but the most, for me, truthfulness, and how being truthful will bring you peace. In today's world, so many people live on lies, and they don't even realize they're living on lies. It's not that they really want to live like that. It's just become such a bad habit over the years. Oh, I did this. Oh, I might get in trouble. Or maybe this wasn't very nice, so let's cover it up. So we're constantly covering up things. And you know, of course, the human mind, you can cover up for a long period of time. But if you don't work it through, it stays deep in your system. It's like an impression. It's a mark. We actually have a word for it in Sanskrit. It's called samskaras, impressions that stay deep inside. And if you don't fix these impressions in this lifetime, you come back to do it again and again and again. Actually, and it's really very interesting, because if you watch your life and the mistakes that you have made again and again and again, no, it is from many lifetimes. And it's so deeply entrenched in your consciousness, what we call the chitta, so deeply entrenched. And if you can recognize it, make friends with it, see what it is that stops you from moving forward, being truthful to yourself, it can totally change your life from being in hell or mediocre lifestyle to a happy lifestyle. Lord Jesus said, know the truth and it will set you free. And that is precisely what truth is about. Sri Patanjali says, when one is firmly practiced in truth, all nature becomes subservient. It means whatever you ask of nature, nature will give you. Because what is the essence of nature? It lives in truth. What do you mean by truth? It just is. It just exists. It moves. When it's a windy day, it gives the wind. When it's a sunny day, it gives the sun. It just moves as it moves. But we, as human beings, we control. We don't allow the thoughts to come and release them and laugh about them. If we see, for example, something in our lives that we don't like, the first thing you have to do is learn to recognize why you don't like it. Maybe because you want to be truthful with yourself. So, for example, something comes up you don't like about yourself and you cover it up. There's a conversation in your mind. No, it's not really me who's wrong. It's somebody else's who's wrong. I can't be wrong. And then the ego takes over. Then the pride takes over. And before you know it, what you instinctively knew as the truth, you've covered up. And then this conversation will happen in your head constantly. Because the consciousness is the energy of truth. It knows. It's clear. It doesn't judge. It's neutral. And your instinct, your natural instinct, is to recognize truth. But the mind and the ego takes over and wants to be right. And this is why I love the yogic teachings, because it tells us again and again, it is not about being right or wrong. It is about being at peace with yourself and the world. Got it? If you look at things right or wrong constantly, you will be judging from your own perspective, from your own deep impressions. So it's very personal. Do you see? How can right and wrong be judged from such an untruthful place? Because it is untruthful, because it's personal. Whatever is personal is in a box, isn't it? It is your thoughts, your upbringing, your experiences that make you who you are. But then there's a greater truth. For example, greater truth. What is a greater truth? You know, if somebody hurts you, it causes you pain. Correct or incorrect? That's a greater truth. So if you want to avoid pain, what should you do? And there comes my dog. What should you do, Gaia? What should you do if you want to avoid pain? Don't hurt somebody else. It's really, you know, these spiritual truths are so simple. It's really not complicated. It's so simple, but we like to hide it because we always want to be wrong. I mean, we always want to be right. Or I've got the other side where people with very low self-esteem and think they always have to be wrong. And that's also not truthful. Somewhere in the middle. How do you know when you're living in truth? That's when you're peaceful. You know, people who are not truthful, they're not comfortable. Have you noticed? They shift a lot. They're constantly thinking of stories to make up in their head. If you tell the truth, no, it's fine, Michelle. Welcome. Deva Shakti, there's a chair right there for you. And if you live the truth, there is nothing to hide. There is nothing to fear. For example, I will give you a very personal example. And I think this must happen to many people. You know, my husband, as a businessman, always wanted to be very successful. He was very bright. He was super bright, just in the wrong job. And he was successful. He was a good worker. He was smart. He was dynamic. But sometimes in life, what you want is not given to you. Either karmic, or maybe that's the lesson you have to learn. He always thought he'd make millions and he'd have a Lamborghini one day, you know. That was his image. He really believed it. But it didn't happen. So when we went through a very difficult time, right, the image was, you can't show people. You can't, you know, you can't say you can't do this. And I go, why not? You know, if we're suffering at the moment and we're paying for our kids' school fees and we can't afford to go to this party because it costs too much, why can't I just say it's a difficult time for me? And he'd say, no, you can't do that. That's not right. Because image, do you see? It was the ego. But then I was left with this discomfort of saying I wasn't going because of some other reason. I was sick or I wasn't well. And it didn't make me feel right. You know, one of our students, when we had the last workshop, the Raj Yoga Foundation course, right? I remember she said, and she gave a similar story like that to all of us. I'm just repeating her story. She said she was invited out to go for dinner with someone, and she really didn't want to go. And it was not a bad friend. She just didn't really want to go. So instead of saying, I really don't feel like going out tonight, forgive me, being totally truthful, she said, I'm really sick. I got a bad stomach ache, And this friend was like, okay, please don't worry, you know, we'll cancel, Anyway, a few weeks later, because she'd made up the story, she bumped into this friend of hers. And, you know, they were chatting, they had dinner together, they were chatting. And she goes, you know, about a couple of weeks ago, I went there and I did that. And the friend looked at her, didn't you tell me you're really sick with a really bad pain in your stomach? And she froze because she had totally forgotten. Because it was a lie, right? You don't remember the lies, you remember the truths. So she thought, what date? And she said, no. And then she got flustered. She said she got red in the face. And her friend looked at her and said, you lied to me, didn't you? And she said that was really quite funny when she looked up, you know, when she was studying about truthfulness, and she looked at herself. And said she never felt comfortable in front of that person again. Why? Because you know the person will trust you the next time. So not only do you put yourself in a very uncomfortable position, the other person won't trust you. So even in simple things in life, I mean, these are not very important things, but they are very important things. Because truthfulness gives you the integrity and respect for yourself. In truth, you gain trust. If you live a truthful life, people will trust you. Your children will trust you. Your family will come to you when there's a problem. But if your life is untruthful, and people can sense this, there's no words that need to be said. When your life is untruthful, there will be a resistance to you. You may have some friends who will trust you, but many will not trust you as well. And you'll say, but why? I've done this, I've done that. But there's something in your system that is not vibrating that energy of truthfulness. Truth is such a simple thing. We only lie because we feel we're doing something wrong. And many times people have told me, Nalanie, but if I told my friend I wasn't coming because I was tired, she'd be angry with me. So I said, then you put it really nicely. I hope you don't mind. I'm really tired tonight. And I really don't feel like going out. I love you a lot, but I just don't feel like doing it. You understand. A good friend should understand you. And if she didn't understand you, then she's not a good friend, is she? And sometimes people get angry immediately, and it's okay. Let them get angry. Just say, I'm really sorry I made you angry, and full stop. Why can't you just say, I'm really sorry I hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you. My intention is not to hurt. Isn't that so much simpler? So, I realized that in my life when I live these untruths, I made simple things, and then you end up spending more money than you should. For example, going back to my own story, just to keep up with the Joneses, the worst thing in the world, I tell you. And then you come home, and then you both argue, because I could not live in a lying energy field, because it's just not the way I am. And I knew my husband didn't mean to lie. It's just the male pride. He always felt it was his job to give me everything, it's male pride. And I said, but I don't really care what people think. This is not what you think, it's what I feel. So another thing that really disturbs us from being truthful is pride. Watch out for that. Watch out for that. Problems happen to us in our lives, things go wrong, because we need to learn from them. But we judge ourselves so harshly when something goes wrong. We judge ourselves, we think we're not good enough. And therefore we try to make ourselves good enough. But don't you understand, if you come from the premise, the truthful premise, that you are spirit and you are divine, and there's nothing wrong with you at that state, then you never have to worry about proving anything to anyone or anybody. The more you try to prove things to the world, to be something you're not, because that's what you're trying to do. When you're trying to prove something, that means you have to work hard to be something. But if you are happy with yourself, there is no trying, there's no struggling. If you accept yourself truthfully for who you are, and you're doing your best in your life, do you need to struggle? Why do you struggle? Because you think that you are constantly thinking what other people are thinking of you. I don't know how many times I've been in a conversation with somebody, We start talking. He said, oh, I didn't do this because I knew you would think like that. They tell me that to my face. And I go, really? But I never even had that thought. It never came from me. I never thought that thought. Do you really think I think like that? I said, you really have to examine that thought. Because if you really think I think like that, it means you think like that. But I certainly never had that thought in my head. I don't know how many times I've heard that said to me. Oh, Nalanie, I didn't do this because I thought you'd be angry with me. Why would I be angry with you? I thought you would be angry with me. Are you fearful that you are angry with yourself about something you didn't do right? Because why would I get angry with you? Do you see? It's this kind of working with oneself. And we do that a lot in our relationships especially. In fact, that's where it's really not practiced in relationships. Many times, again, people have come to me, bad relation, mother-daughter, father-son, father-mother, son-mother, whatever it is. There's a lot of those going around. And people have suffered being untruthful to each other for so long. You know, the daughter breaks down at the age of 50 in my office telling me, you know, I really don't want to see my mother anymore. Why don't you want to see your mother anymore? I have to go there every Sunday. She makes me feel guilty. She feels that if I'm not there, I'm not a good daughter. I'm not doing my things right. And I go, and are you a good daughter? Yes, I'm a good daughter. So why are you so angry? I've been angry for so long because she's always telling me I have to be there all the time. Otherwise, I'm not a good daughter, but I am a good daughter. So I said, why don't you go and tell her? Oh no, she gets so angry. Have you ever tried to tell her how you're feeling? No, she'd be angry because I know my mum. So you rather suffer this anger with her, even though every Sunday you're going there, you're doing that good deed, but you negate your good deed because you've done the good deed, but you hate the good deed. So what's the point? Have you really done a good deed? Have you really done a good deed? Because you're so angry about doing it. You know, if you did this for me as my daughter, I'd say, please don't. Because you're going to go home worse, thinking so badly about me. I prefer you to love me and be at a distance. Does your mother know that? No, I'm really frightened to tell her what I feel. So I said, then the truth is, you are the coward. Nothing to do with your mother. Your mother has come there to teach you to be more truthful. That's what she's taught. That's why she's had this position of demanding from you all these years, because you just keep quiet and you give her what she wants, then you get angry. So she's become, as she gets older, she's more and more attached to you and manipulating you more and more because all these years you've not been truthful to her. Okay. I'm already so old. How am I going to do it now? I said, better to live your 20 years in peace with your mom than to live in hell. You don't know how long you have your mom for. If your mom dies tomorrow, I told her, how will you feel? Guilty. Why? You were a good daughter. You went every Sunday, you looked after her. But I did it nastily. And I made, put long faces. So I said, now you're getting it. It's not your mother. It's you. Be truthful about that. But I'm really a good person. I see her every Sunday. Yeah. Pattern. This is a pattern. This is an I pattern. Let's go back to the beginning. And this is how it is with truth. It's a pattern. It's so stuck in the mind. It's so deeply in your system that even when you see it, you don't want to see it. So anyway, we did this practice, creative visualization, which I love, where you visualize. I told her to visualize where she was with her mother, very calm and very together, full of love in her heart. Make sure she's not upset or angry. Sit down, say, Mom, I really need to talk to you. And then to say it so nicely, Mom, I'd like to have some Sundays to be with my family. My husband needs time with me alone. He's getting upset. We have no time together. I come every Sunday and later I feel really bad and I feel like I'm trapped. But it's not because of you, it's because of me. So can you do that? And then, of course, there was more. So she practiced. And then a few weeks later, she came into the office. And she also said her mum never likes anything she does. She did yoga and that was devil's worship and all this kind of stuff, right? So I said, just start with one truth, the simplest one. So she actually told her mother. So what was her reaction? Again, the same reaction. I didn't mean for you to not be with your husband every Sunday. Why didn't you tell me? I don't want your marriage to suffer because of me. Why didn't you tell me? So the reaction was totally different from what the daughter had imagined. She had imagined a fight, screaming, shouting, hysterical. I said, because you went in judging your mom every Sunday. You just went in angry already. And so she felt your energy. It's not your words. You can be so sweet and you can be so nice, but she felt your energy. You didn't really want to be there. But no words were spoken. So she didn't know how to read that negative energy because she couldn't read it. But you can read it. You're a yogi. Don't give that energy. Anyway, it so happened that after that, they started to talk. The daughter realized that she needed to be more truthful about more things, so she'd go to her mom in the midweek instead of just the Sundays, and they would have tea together. And you know what? 2 years later, her mother actually walked into a yoga class. And she continues to be there because she feels it gives her a new lease to her life and a new way of thinking. But do you see how untruthfulness can really destroy many things in your life? I've gone into very subtle untruths. I mean, there are many untruths you can see in your life that are so obvious. You know, when people have affairs, for example, disloyalty. Oh, this is the one that is breaking up a lot of marriages today. People just don't have loyalty anymore. I really cannot understand this concept. We've forgotten what loyal means. And if you go into a relationship and you promise somebody something, where is your substance if you do not keep that promise? I know things go wrong in relationships, and I'm not talking about that. And sometimes certain relationships just are not meant to be together. They're just not meant to be. Just you have some karma with that person, and then it's done. And then it's done. But lying and cheating behind the person's back. I mean, how many cases I had like that? And I go, okay, if you really want to be with the other person, you're messed up. You're totally messed up. You come to me totally messed up because you're living this lie. Then you are telling me you feel so ecstatic when you're with your ecstatic when you're with your lover, but at the same time you don't want to leave your partner. What do you want? And then you're telling me you're really depressed because you're lying all the time. I said, you're actually living in hell. You have no peace up here. Why are you doing it? For 23 hours of struggle, 1 hour of lustful pleasure. Is it worth it? For what does it benefit the world? For what does it benefit a man to gain the whole world at the cost of his soul? What does it benefit you? You can't enjoy the lust because you're constantly thinking that you're lying. You can't enjoy your home life because you're constantly thinking you're lying. So you think you are very happy because all your senses are stimulated. All your senses, your eyes, your smell, everything is so stimulated. And this is where you have to be truthful to yourself. And I think if people had this science, they would be so truthful to themselves. How long is this lust going to last? Is it worth it? Is this what I want in my life? Ask these questions. Making mistakes is no problem, but ask yourself these questions. But the problem with truthfulness is people just want to jump into things without thinking because they always feel they can cover it up. And covering it up is not the solution because people suffer. Everybody suffers in the end. And especially the one who is the one who's advocating it. They will suffer the most in the end. Because action creates reaction. It's not good or bad. Remember, what are we looking for? Truthfulness brings peace. And I asked the person again and again, if it made you so happy, why would you be sitting in my office and saying you don't know how to continue, that you need to take antidepressants to shut your mind out? Why are you, there's so many, you see one lie with another lie, with another lie, with another lie, then stacks of lie. The conscience can't take this anymore. Your soul can't carry it anymore. The mind can't carry it anymore. Then the panic attack starts, and then the stress starts. And then you have to write what you did wrong in your mind to make excuses for yourself. So can you imagine the noise in the mind when you're not truthful? So best to live truthfully. If you really can't continue in a situation, tell your partner, this is not working for both of us. Be truthful. Leave one, start another. Okay, if you have to do it that way, do it that way. But don't lie in between. Because that causes so much damage. And this damage stays forever. I've seen people who've had partners who've been disloyal to them. The damage, it takes a long time for them to heal. A long, long time. And life is too short. I always say, when two people meet, they're so in love, or so in lust these days, or it's about the money, and the security. It's not about the truth. We've allowed materialism to decide a lot of things for us. And this is where we have to look at ourselves, because really we live in a very material world. The world we're living in today is so material. Everything is based on materialistic values. And the world has never been unhappier. I've never seen people so unhappy. Even 20 years ago when I started, or 30 years now, I used to get maybe 1 in 100 with panic attacks. Now it's nearly every single person I know suffer from panic attacks. It's quite frightening. Because the focus is all on the outside. We've forgotten who we are on the inside. We're just so forgotten. We're so out of touch. Even if we read a spiritual book, we're reading the book. But are we living the book? Are we living our truthfulness? Are we living these values? Are we committed to the truth? Because if you are committed to the truth, no matter how bad you look when you do something wrong, it's better to face it there and then, and it's done. It's done there and then. It's easier to say, I'm sorry, I messed it up, I botched it up, it's my fault, I created all this, forgive me, quickly get out of it, than to spend a lifetime not trusting yourself. Because forget about somebody else, it's can you trust you? And I think that's the worst disease, because you have to live in your body, you have to live in your head, you have to live in your mind, you have to live with you. And if there's some untruth in your life, I guarantee you your sleep will not be good. You'll get up and you'll think and you'll think and you'll think. But if you live truthfully, you'll sleep like a baby. And then when you get up in the middle of the night, you'll just sit up and you'll meditate, because there's nothing playing in your mind. Because it's truthful. You didn't lie to anyone. Everything. Where there are lies, you're always constantly hiding. And today people are hiding everything. They're hiding their finances, they're hiding their emotions, they're hiding everything. Which is okay, you don't have to tell everybody everything, and neither do you need to. But don't pretend. Don't pretend to be something you're not. That's the saddest story, because I keep saying this in all my talks. Each one of us is a designer piece. Really, each one of us. And even we were doing the Gita study the last 2 days, last week, Thursday and Friday, right? It kept on saying, it is better to do your own dharma, to do your own spiritual duty in this life, than to want to do a dharma that belongs to somebody else's spiritual duty. This is the cause for all the untruths in our life. We never feel we can do it ourselves. We never believe that this designer piece can do it. Why? Because we either want to reach the top and be the top of everything. We don't want to appear to be lower than we are. But it's not about appearing. There's no low, there's no high. Everybody is a designer piece. Everybody is an individual. There is nobody like you in this world. There really isn't. Get used to who you are. And this desire to be the best, that gets us in trouble. It really gets us in trouble. But you are the best. If you can really understand, you are the best as you are. I constantly tell the story because this is the absolute truth. Oh, Gurdjieff, I'll tell you Gurdjieff's story about the watch. You know, the old switch watches had all the wheels, right? He used to tell a story. The big wheel said to the little wheel, look at me. I'm so grand. The whole watch runs because of me. And the tiny little wheel, you know how there used to be so many wheels in the watches? Tiny wheel said, oh, it's true. I'm so little. I'm no use. Why am I working so hard? It stops working. Guess what? The whole watch stops working. So it's not about how big you are. Sometimes the smallest wheel is the most important. Then there's another story that I love in our scriptures. And there's this little weed by the riverside. You know what weeds are like? They bend and they go back and forth. And there's this huge, strong tree in the forest. And the tree goes, oh, weed, look at me, how grand I am. The whole forest looks at me. I'm strong, I'm beautiful. I give shade to so many people. What do you do, little weed? And the weed looks at itself, it goes, yeah, really, I'm pretty pathetic. What is my use in this world? The tree gives shade to so many people. The tree's so elegant. So many people love the tree. What can I do? Anyway, soon a storm came by. Huge storm. And you know, have any of you been in a storm or a typhoon? Any of you been in a typhoon or a storm?
Hurricane.
Yeah? Yeah, I've been in many typhoons in Hong Kong. And they're really quite wild, these winds, right? And so the wind came, and of course, when something is very stiff, what happens when there's a lot of pressure? Cracks. So the tree fell over, while the weed in the storm just bent its little head, and the wind went over it. And the tree turned back and said, weed, weed, I'm sorry, I was so arrogant and so proud. Look what's happened to me now. Look what's happened to me now. Ask yourself, you happy being the weed? I'm pretty happy being a weed. I can enjoy the storm, and when it's over, I can put my head up and say, sunny day. Better than losing my life. So, and then the story that I always tell in my own life is when I gave a talk in Hong Kong. Some of you heard this story already many times. And I was giving a talk, and after the talk, this young lady comes up to me and thanks me profusely for saving her life. And I'm looking at her and go, oh God, where did I meet her? I'm really forgetting, I'm getting old now. And I go, I don't know you, do I? And she looks at me, she said, no, you don't, but I know you. And you saved my life. And I'm like, how, if I haven't met you? She said, oh, you sent me your niece, a friend of your niece gave me this tape, and when I listened to the tape of you talking, I was thinking just before then that I really would like to commit suicide. And you said something there about suicides. And when I listened to that tape, I thought, I'm not going to commit suicide. So I want to thank you for saving my life, and now my life is really happy. So I go, thank you for telling me that. And I went through what happened. I never gave her the tape. I did that talk in Gibraltar. An American girl, Susan, was in Gibraltar at that time, many years ago. And she had recorded. She insisted on recording in those days. A cassette. She had recorded it. My niece knew Shanti. So she calls Shanti. My friend's in trouble. My friend of my friend is in trouble. Can you send me one of Nalanie's tapes? Shanti chose one of the tapes. Happened to be the right one. Sent it to my niece, Minal. Minal gives it to a friend. Her friend gives it to this girl. Without any of those people would she have gotten the tape. So who is more important? Every single one in the chain was important. If one link was missing, it wouldn't have happened. And that is the truth about life. And you have to see, people are telling me, I want to be like this, or I should be like that, and why am I not like that? And they struggle with this. They spend half their life struggling with what they should be like. But be truthful. This is who you are. Learn who you are. And as my master said, meditate. Purify your mind. What does purify your mind mean? Be truthful. Truth, don't you feel truth is so pure? Truth is so pure. Be truthful. Purify your mind. When you are ready, God will use you. We all talk about not being the doer. I'm not the doer. There's an energy that runs through all of us. Consciousness, higher self, divine God, whatever you want to call it. There's a consciousness. And Sri Patanjali tells us, for one who practices truth, all nature is subservient. Why? Why? You tell me why. Isn't it true? As you think it becomes. So if you are constantly practicing the truth, and you just think, oh, I'd really like this. There's nothing in the energy field. Oh, for example, I'd like a mango, and I must tell you the story about that too. I'd like a mango, and suddenly the mango will come. Why? Because there's no interference with consciousness. Consciousness will give you what you think. As you think, so it will become. Like attracts like. So when I was doing my practice of truthfulness many years ago, and boy, did I get a shock about how many small untruths I told. I really did. I thought I was an extremely truthful person until I realized I wasn't. But it wasn't like bad untruths, but many unnecessary things, exaggerations, telling people, maybe, I sold 5 dresses. I'll say, I sold 15 dresses. What for? What's the point? Why did I find the need to exaggerate? The need to be better than what actually happened? Why do we have that need? And I looked at that. It comes from a sense of insecurity. Not being happy with just the truth. I always had to make it better or bigger than what it was because I felt it wasn't good enough. But why would I feel that? So I really, really practiced. I really practiced because, when I studied the scriptures, the Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali, which is the science of the mind, which many of you in this room have done with me, they said this practice of truth really makes a difference to your life. Things will just work. So I wanted to test if this was really true. And I really worked on each of those non-violence, truthfulness for a long time. So I decided to embark on truthfulness. And I was constantly watching myself. And truthfulness, not watching anybody else, because it doesn't work that way. You cannot observe other people's truthfulness because you will be constantly judging them. And when you practice with truthfulness, you will notice what happens. You will constantly be judging people. So it's kind of really hard work. You really kind of separate other people from yourself. No, I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about somebody else's lies. I know they lie. That's their problem, not mine. I have to detach. Non-attachment, right? Practice and non-attachment. But you will find the mind will do that. So you have to be really alert with your mind. This is why meditation is so important. You really need to have to watch your mind like a hawk. Otherwise, it'll keep on leading you on the wrong path. So anyway, I watched my mind. And then I was doing this for quite some time. And then one day, this is the story of the mango. I sat in my sitting room in Gibraltar. This is many years ago. You couldn't buy mangoes in those days in Spain or in Gibraltar. And I was thinking, when I was in Hong Kong, we used to have these delicious Indian mangoes. I could really do with a mango, but never mind, Nalanie. Literally 2 minutes later, and this is about 11 o'clock in the morning, doorbell rings, young Indian boy at the door. Oh, my aunt was in India and she bought some Indian mangoes and she wanted me to deliver this mango to you. The aunt wasn't even my good friend. And I told nobody that I loved Indian mangoes. Do you know, it was like that. And of course, since then, there's been lots of, experiences, but also with my students now, as they start to practice the truth and living the truth, I watch the magic happen in their lives. It's really quite exciting, It's really all nature becomes subservient. The good you do comes back to you. Living in truth. See, it's living in truth is living a good life too. It's not only about yourself, and it's also about yourself. But it's yourself as an instrument. You are an instrument. Like St. Francis so clearly put it. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is darkness, let me bring your light. Where there's injury, your pardon, Lord. Where there's injury, your pardon, and where there's hatred, love. Right? Okay, you can sing it later. Okay. And my guru, Swami Satchidananda, improved on it slightly by saying, not make me an instrument of your peace. I am an instrument of your peace. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. I am. It's true. I am is true. Who is the I that watches your human personality? We have a great monkey god called Hanuman. I know it sounds strange to you. And Hanuman loved Lord Rama, who was any of you read the Ramayana? Okay, it's another great epic about human existence. He was thrown out of his country because of jealousy of the king's third wife. It's a long story, but this is exactly how life works, okay? So she was jealous that the king's first wife's son, Lord Rama, was so incredible, and he was going to be the next king. And she thought she was the prettiest of the three wives, the king's favorite. Her son, Bharat, should be king. So the king had promised her a boon when he first married her. He said, marry me and I'll promise you anything you want in your life, but one boon, anything I'll give you. She never used that boon. She never asked the king for anything because she had a beautiful life. Finally used that boon and said to the king, what you can do is make my son King Bharat, not Rama. And he goes, please don't ask me of this. Please ask me anything you want, but don't ask me this. Rama's perfect for the job. He's a wonderful son. He's a wonderful brother. Besides, your son Bharat loves him. The whole nation loves him. If he rules, he'll make sure everybody is looked after. Please don't ask this of me. And she said, no. You have to do this for me. And not only that, it's like the Bhagavad Gita, I want him out of the way. Because while he's here, Bharat can never be himself because he will feel Rama should do it all. So I want him out of the way. For again, 12 years. And I want my son to be king. So anyway, Lord Rama, being the perfect son, says, no, Dad, you have to keep your promise. You promised. You cannot break the promise. Do not be angry at her. Don't be angry at her. It is the way it is. I will go. I will take my wife Sita with me. And then his other brother, Lakshman, said, if you're going, brother, I'm going with you, And then they went into the forest, and that was the whole Ramayana war. It's really a beautiful epic. Anyway, Hanuman, somebody stole Rama's wife Sita away from him. He was madly in love. Sita was so beautiful and went to the forest with him. And there was a demon king from what we call Sri Lanka, called Ravana. And he was madly in love with Sita. I thought she was so beautiful. So one day when Rama was out of the forest area, anyway, he pretended disguise and he kidnapped Sita. So the whole war started. And Hanuman, who lived in the forest, learned to be with Rama and realized he was such a perfect incarnation of God, incarnation man as God, that he would do anything for Lord Rama. So Hanuman wanted to save Sita for Rama. And they couldn't because they had to build a bridge from India to Sri Lanka to do it. So Rama was thinking, how could he build this bridge to get over? Hanuman, the monkey god, he said, Rama's my God. He's my version of God. So he just started to meditate on him. And he said, all I have to do is have the faith and chant Rama's name, and I can jump across to Sri Lanka. And that's exactly what he did. Rama, the incarnation, had to build a bridge, but Hanuman, by faith, could jump across. That's what devotion does. True faith, true devotion on the spiritual path can take you where you never believed you could be. And that requires that much truth and that much faith in who you really are, the instrument. Hanuman knew he was an instrument. Oh, I just chant Rama's name, Rama, 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 I'll get across. You got across. You know, in the Bible, right, there was a centurion, and he said, who was it? Somebody was sick at home. Please, Lord Jesus, come and heal him. I know you can heal him. Please come and heal him. And he goes, go home. By your faith, he will be healed. By your faith. See, faith, truthfulness, there's a lot, because faith is like total focus on something. And if you really have that faith, you are connected to the divine. And when you live in truthfulness, whether you believe in God or not, it's irrelevant, because that is the nature of the divine. It's truthful. So you can be an atheist and say, I don't believe in any of this. But if you practice truth in your life, you will get everything you want. But it's not about getting anything you want anyway, do you see? It's not about that. That's just the magic of practicing. It's the fun in practicing the truth. It is the peace you get when the mind is quiet. It's the peace you get. You can check all my books. You can check all my bank account. I'm not lying. I'm not cheating anybody. It's such a nice feeling. There's nothing to hide. To be so truthful is just such a nice feeling. And then everybody trusts that because you're truthful. You're not hiding anything. And you will all live such a highly elevated life when truth comes in. And so, like I was saying, it's not only me now, so many of my students, I watch them practice and, this science really does work. I watch joy come back into their lives. And even if there is suffering, there is ability to deal with the suffering. But this has to be a constant practice. As Sri Patanjali says, and I'm saying it again and again and again, you have to practice for a long time without a break and with all your heart. And this is, you see, if you do lie, then it can come out one day. It will. The truth always comes out, by the way. It always comes out. Always. People have told me, Nalanie, I did this. I can't say this to the person. I said, one day it will come out. But it will cause a lot of pain. Because it will. And it will come out. You have pain now, you have pain later. It will come out. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. It's just the way it is. It's the way the energy works. The energy works truthfully. It doesn't hide anything. This is why the scriptures, Vedas call it the truth. The essence of it is truth, knowledge, and bliss. And when you live in truth, you are living in that energy field. So you're more connected to that divine. So if you meet an atheist that's very connected in truth, doesn't matter. You will see they're connected in the divine. And, oh, he doesn't believe in God, and she doesn't believe in God. Why is she so lucky? But they live in truth. They live in truth. So that's the talk for today. Truthfulness will bring you peace. Watch yourselves carefully. Like I said, more important to look at your own truth than anybody else's. Yes, people will lie to you. It's not your problem. Your problem is to be able to decipher information, and if they lie to you, whether you want to encourage it or discourage it. My feeling is discourage it or ignore it and get out of their way if you can't. Make yourself brave. Purify your mind. When the mind is very clear, it doesn't like contamination anyway. It doesn't. When you've enjoyed a space where you're so peaceful, you don't want to lie anymore. You don't want to be dishonest to yourself anymore. You just don't, because you will enjoy that feeling of peace so much that nothing is worth giving that one up. It really isn't worth giving it up. For what? For praise? A few words of flattery? And this is what most of us do, for a few words of flattery or a few words of nice words. That's why in the teaching it says, a true yogi will not be moved. You'll be moved by praise or blame, because this is life. One day you will be loved. The next day, the same person that loved you will hate you. It's life. So don't get so involved in that. Rather get involved in living as fully as you can. Life is very short. It's really short. It's really very short. Look at your friend. So live it. Live it so beautifully. Live it beautifully. This house is called Casa Bella Vida. My son named it, actually. A beautiful life. And every day tell yourself, I really want to live a truthful, beautiful life. And it's okay. Sometimes the truth is not pleasant for somebody to hear, in which case our master said, wait for the right time to say the truth. Truth should always be presented with tranquility, nice words, pleasant words. When you are really peaceful in yourself and kindly, with compassion. No, no, you do this and I don't like the way you did that. And don't you know what you did to me? It's all very true, yes. Everything is really true. But present it so badly. So badly. So truth should always be presented in a very nice way at the right time. Please find the right time, the right moment. Don't just blurt at the wrong time. You can cause a lot of pain. So this is what you look at when you look at truth. Oh, I don't want to say it. I'm not ready. Then you're not ready. Don't say it now. If you're not ready, you will say it wrong. Wait till you're ready. Train yourself. Work on yourself. Work with your mind. Read spiritual books. Make yourself excited about living this spiritual life. It will help you to be truthful. Make yourself excited about being pure inside. Blessed are the pure, they shall see God. Be still and know that I am God. The Psalms, be still. Where do you have to be still? And truthfulness will keep this really still. So practice how to speak. This is also really important to do, especially with truthfulness. How to say the truth. And I'm talking about speaking to yourself the same way. Do I really want to go on this untruthful journey? Do I really want to take this again? Do I really want to go through this again and again and again. Be gentle. No, I don't. Then why am I doing it? It's a bad pattern. It's a samskara. It's an impression that I really have to let go of now. I must let go of it in this lifetime. And then when you laugh about it, it makes it very light. Okay? Makes it very light. Oh, I did that, untruth. And oh, what can I do? I'm human. I make mistakes, you know. Okay, I said a lie. Okay, forgive me. And laugh about it. Because laughter will really help you not to do it again. Laugh. If you say, oh my God, that victim mode will keep going on in your mind. So laughter. Don't take yourself too seriously. That's the spiritual truth. And really, if you met any of the spiritual people, they were always laughing. Oh, Gurudev was very funny. He used to love to tell jokes. It was really very funny. And all the spiritual people, Dada Jason, if you ever have a chance to meet him, he's 94 now. Oh, he's brilliant. He shines like a light, and he's got the most beautiful smile. Always laughing. And they've gone through hell, many of these people. They're always laughing. Gandhi was always peaceful. Even when he was starved to death, he was still peaceful. So this is who we are. This is who we all are. And that's what they all try to tell us.